You speak too much. You explain yourself when silence would suffice. You chase conversations that should be chasing you. You respond to messages within seconds, like a servant reporting to their master. Every day you hemorrhage power through 1,000 micro-submissions you don't even recognize as wounds. This video will perform surgery on that behavior. Without anesthetic, most people should stop watching now. What follows isn't self-help. It isn't about setting boundaries or practicing self-care. Those are concepts invented to make weakness sound like wisdom. This is about dominance. This is about installing a cold, mechanical understanding of human hierarchy into your operating system and never returning to who you were before. If you're looking for comfort, you're in the wrong place. If you need someone to tell you you're already enough, close this now. I'm not here to validate you. I'm here to dissect you. Still here? Then understand this. You are about to learn something irreversible. Once you see how power actually moves between people, you cannot pretend anymore. You cannot go back to being the person who waits by their phone, who over-explains, who needs to be liked. That version of you dies here. This is the point of no return. Let me tell you what you do wrong every single day. Someone texts you. You see it. Your hand moves to your phone automatically, like a reflex. You type back immediately. You think this is politeness. You think this is being a good person. You are wrong. What you are doing is announcing your availability, your desperation, your position in the hierarchy. You are telling them, I have nothing more important than you. I was waiting for you. I need this interaction. You have just submitted. Or consider this. Someone criticizes you in public. Your face flushes. Your heart rate spikes. You immediately begin defending yourself, explaining your reasoning, justifying your choices. You think you're standing up for yourself. You are not. You are dancing when they pulled your strings. You have confirmed that their opinion of you matters more than your own internal compass. You have given them the remote control to your emotional state. You have just submitted. One more. You enter a room and immediately begin performing. You smile at everyone. You make small talk. You try to be agreeable, pleasant, non-threatening. You think this is social intelligence. It is not. It is a survival mechanism left over from childhood when you needed approval to be safe. You are still operating like a child seeking permission to exist in adult spaces. You have just submitted. Every single one of these behaviors is a power leak. You are bleeding authority from wounds you cannot see. And the people around you, whether they consciously know it or not, can smell it. They register your submission at a level beneath language. And once they register it, your position in every relationship you have is set. Machiavelli understood this. He watched courts, watched kingdoms, watched men rise and fall based on invisible laws of dominance. And he wrote down what he saw with surgical precision. No morality, no sentimentality, just mechanics. The art of ignoring people is one of those mechanics. It is not about being rude. It is not about playing games. It is about understanding that attention is currency, that your presence has value, and that scarcity creates demand. When you make yourself abundant, you make yourself worthless. When you give your attention freely, you announce that it costs nothing. This is the framework we're installing today. 6 laws, each one a blade that cuts away a piece of your old programming. By the end, you will not be the same person who started watching this video. If that frightens you, leave now. Most people give away their attention like a beggar handing out worthless coins. You do this every time you immediately respond to someone who hasn't earned it. Every time you make yourself available on someone else's schedule instead of your own. Every time you interrupt your work, your thought, your focus, because someone else decided they wanted access to you. You think you're being responsive. You are actually being colonized. Attention is territory. It is the land on which your thoughts grow, where your projects take shape, where your identity is constructed. Every time you allow someone to interrupt that space without consequence, you are allowing an invasion. You are signaling that your territory has no borders, no guards, no value. Kings do not operate this way. A king does not immediately open his doors when someone knocks. There are gates, there are guards, there are protocols. Access to the king's presence is earned, scheduled, controlled. Not because the king is arrogant, but because his time and attention are the most valuable resources in the kingdom. If he gave them away freely, he would cease to be king. You are currently operating like a kingdom with no walls. The correction is surgical. Create friction between the request for your attention and the granting of it. When someone messages you, let time pass. Not as a game, not as manipulation, but as a filter. Let time reveal whether their request actually matters. Most things that feel urgent at the moment they arrive are completely irrelevant 6 hours later. By inserting space, you allow the trivial to collapse under its own weight while the important remains standing. When someone asks for your time, the answer is never immediate, yes. The answer is, let me check my schedule, even if your schedule is empty, even if you know you're free. Because what you're communicating is not availability. You're communicating that your time is structured, allocated, accounted for. That accessing it requires negotiation. When someone interrupts you, the default is not accommodation. The default is, I'm in the middle of something. I'll find you when I'm finished. No apology, no guilt, just a statement of fact. Your focus is engaged. They will wait. This feels harsh to you right now because you have been trained to prioritize other people's comfort over your own sovereignty. You have been taught that making someone wait is mean. It is not mean. It is hierarchical classification. Watch what happens when you implement this. Some people will become frustrated. Good. They were only interacting with you because you were easy to access. They were using you as emotional furniture, something to fill their boredom or validate their existence. When you stop being freely available, they disappear. This is not a loss. This is filtration. Other people will respect the boundary. They will adjust their approach. They will begin treating your time like it has value because you have demonstrated that it does. These are the people who recognize hierarchy when they see it. These are the people who can exist in your kingdom. Most people fail here. They implement the boundary for a day, maybe a week. Then someone gets upset. Someone accuses them of being cold, distant, changed. And they immediately collapse back into availability because the discomfort of being misunderstood feels worse than the slow death of submission. If you collapse here, you will never have power over your own life. The boundary must be absolute. Your attention is territory. You are the king. No one enters without permission, ever. You are afraid of silence. I can prove it. Watch what you do in a conversation when there's a pause. You rush to fill it. You make a joke. You ask a question. You say something, anything, to prevent the silence from continuing. You think this is social skill. It is panic. You have been trained to believe that silence is failure, that if no one is talking, something is wrong, that gaps in conversation are evidence of your inadequacy. This is a lie that keeps you subordinate. Silence is not emptiness. Silence is pressure. When you speak, you release pressure. You give the other person information, emotional content, your position. When you remain silent, the pressure builds. The other person feels compelled to speak, to explain, to fill the void you've created. And when they do, they reveal themselves. They show you their insecurity, their agenda, their hierarchy position. Machiavelli watched this in courts. The powerful said less. The supplicants talked more. The person who spoke first after a proposal was made was always the weaker party. The one who could sit in silence and let others squirm held the throne. You do the opposite. You explain yourself before anyone asks. You justify your decisions before anyone questions them. You apologize for things that don't require apology. Every word you speak when silence would serve you better is a confession of weakness. The correction: train yourself to pause before responding. Someone makes a statement. You feel the urge to reply immediately. Crush that urge. Let 3 seconds pass. Look at them. Say nothing. Watch what happens. Most people will become uncomfortable. They will add more information. They will soften their position. They will seek your approval. All because you gave them nothing. Someone asks you a question. Pause. Not because you don't know the answer, because the pause itself communicates that you're considering whether they're worth answering. It puts you above the interaction rather than inside it. Someone challenges you. The weak response is immediate defense. The powerful response is silence. Just look at them. Let them hear their own accusation hanging in the air. Let them wonder if you're offended, indifferent, or simply unimpressed. The not knowing is corrosive to their confidence. They will often retreat without you saying a single word. This is not the silent treatment. That is emotional manipulation born from weakness. This is strategic silence born from position. You are not withholding communication to hurt someone. You are controlling the flow of information because you understand that words are expenditure and silence is accumulation. Watch leaders. Watch predators. Watch anyone who actually holds power in a room. They speak less than everyone else. They let others perform. They wait. And when they finally do speak, everyone listens because their words are rare. Your words are not rare. They are abundant, cheap, devalued by overuse. Make them scarce. Make them expensive. Make people wait for them. Most people cannot do this. The discomfort is too great. They would rather be liked in the moment than respected over time. They would rather ease social tension than hold their position. If you are like most people, you will fail here. But if you can learn to sit in silence while others squirm, you will have access to a form of control they cannot defend against. You have been trained to be emotional infrastructure for other people. Someone is upset. You rush to comfort them. Someone is anxious. You absorb their fear and try to calm them. Someone is angry. You attempt to de-escalate, to soothe, to fix. You think this makes you a good person. It makes you a servant. Understand this. Most people do not want solutions. They want an audience. They want someone to witness their emotional state and validate it. They are performing their feelings, and you are the theater. Every time you engage with someone's emotional chaos, you are confirming your role as their support system. You are not their support system, unless you consciously chose that role, unless they have earned that level of access to you. Most have not. Machiavelli wrote about princes who remained unmoved while their courts panicked. Not because they were cruel, but because emotional stability is hierarchy. When everyone around you is reactive and you remain calm, you are definitionally above them. When you mirror their chaos, you join them in the pit. You join them in the pit constantly. Someone vents to you about their problem. You engage. You ask follow-up questions. You offer advice. You invest emotional energy into their situation. And what happens? They feel better. They got what they wanted. And you are now associated in their mind as the person they come to when they need emotional labor. Congratulations, you have been domesticated. The correction is cold but necessary. Stop being available for emotional dumping. When someone begins venting, you have two options. Option 1, that sounds difficult. What are you going to do about it? You have acknowledged their state without entering it. You have redirected the emotional labor back to them. Option 2, silence. Just listen without responding. Do not nod enthusiastically. Do not make sympathetic sounds. Simply exist in neutral witnessing. Most people will trail off when they realize they're not getting the reaction they came for. When someone is clearly seeking validation rather than solution, you do not provide it. They say, "I'm so stressed." You do not say, "You have every right to be, here's why you're justified." You say nothing. Or you say, "What's your plan?" Force them into agency. Force them out of victim posture. When someone tries to make their emergency your emergency, you do not accept the transfer. They burst in with urgent energy, demanding your immediate attention and engagement. You remain calm. You do not match their intensity. You say, "I can see you're activated. I'm available to discuss this when you're calmer. You have just refused to dance. This will make people angry. Let them be angry. Their anger is the sound of them realizing you will not be their emotional furniture anymore. Some of them will leave. Good. They were never interested in you as a person. They were interested in you as a function. The people who remain will adjust their approach. They will stop treating you like an emotional dumping ground and start treating you like someone whose attention and energy have value. This is the only kind of relationship worth maintaining. But here is what you must understand. You cannot do this selectively. You cannot be emotionally unavailable to people you don't like, but immediately available to people you do. Because the people you do like will also use you if you let them. Affection does not exempt someone from hierarchy. Love does not mean unlimited access. You must be structurally unavailable to chaos, regardless of the source. This does not mean you are cold to everyone. It means you are selective. It means your emotional engagement is a privilege, not a right. It means you decide when and how and with whom you invest that energy, rather than letting other people's feelings dictate your state. Most people will call you cold. Let them. They are describing their inability to use you. That is not your problem. You talk about what you're going to do, before you've done it, before you've proven you can do it. You announce your plans, your goals, your intentions. You think this is commitment. You think saying it out loud makes it real. What it actually does is bleed the energy needed to execute. And it announces to everyone around you that you need their validation before you act. Watch people who actually accomplish things. They are quiet beforehand. They work in private. They appear with results, not with promises. The announcement is the accomplishment itself. You do the opposite. You post about the gym before you've built the body. You talk about the business before you've made the sale. You explain your creative project before you finish the work. Every word spent describing what you will do is energy not spent doing it. And worse, you are seeking permission. When you announce your intention before acting, you are unconsciously asking the group if it's acceptable for you to attempt this thing. You are checking if anyone will object, discourage, warn you against it. You are giving them the power to stop you before you start. Powerful people do not ask permission. They do not announce. They simply move. And when someone asks what they're working on, the answer is vague. A project. Something I'm exploring. Nothing concrete yet. Not because they're being secretive, because they understand that competence speaks for itself, and anything said before competence is demonstrated is just noise. Machiavelli advised princes to be feared and respected, never to be the subject of speculation and gossip. The prince who constantly announced his plans gave his enemies time to prepare. The prince who moved in silence moved decisively. You are currently broadcasting all of your moves before you make them. The correction: stop talking about what you're going to do. Someone asks about your goals. You deflect. I'm working on some things. That's the entire answer. Do not elaborate. Do not list your 5-year plan. Do not explain your strategy. Because the moment you do, you have invited commentary, judgment, and opinion from people who have accomplished nothing. Someone wants to know what you're building. It's too early to discuss, even if it's not too early, even if you could explain it perfectly, because explaining it satisfies the same psychological reward center as completing it. Your brain gets the dopamine hit from their impressed reaction, and now you have less motivation to actually build the thing. Someone pressures you for details. You hold frame. When there's something concrete, you'll see it. No apology, no guilt, just a boundary around your work. Watch what this does. It creates mystique. People become curious. They pay attention when you finally do reveal something because you've trained them that you don't speak unless there's substance behind it. Your words carry weight because they're rare and backed by demonstrated competence. But more importantly, it protects your energy. The single greatest killer of potential is premature sharing. You drain the pressure that would have powered the execution. You satisfy your need for validation before you've done anything worth validating, and you give other people the opportunity to poison your motivation with their doubt, their fear, their projection of their own limitations onto your ambition. Your work is done in private. Your results are shown in public. Nothing else. Most people cannot maintain this. The urge to share, to get feedback, to be seen working is too strong. They need the social reinforcement. They need people to know they're trying. This is why most people fail. They spend their energy on the appearance of effort rather than the effort itself. If you are strong enough to work in silence, you will accomplish more in 1 year than most people accomplish in 10. You are always available. You show up to everything. You respond to every message. You're there whenever anyone needs you. You think this makes you valuable. It makes you furniture. Furniture is always there. No one thinks about furniture. No one wonders where it went. No one values it until it's gone. You are currently furniture in other people's lives. Machiavelli understood that a prince who was always visible became ordinary. The king who appeared for every small matter diminished his own majesty. Power requires distance. Authority requires absence, not total absence, strategic absence. Calculated withdrawal at precisely the moment your presence would be expected. Think about the people you respect most, the people who hold power in your mind. Are they constantly available? Are they always responding? Always present, always accessible? No, they disappear. They are unreachable for stretches of time, and when they reappear, their return has impact because their absence created void. You create no void. You are constant, and constant presence is invisible. The correction: disappear periodically. You have been consistently available to someone. They are used to hearing from you daily. Then one day you are not there. You do not respond. You do not initiate. You simply withdraw. No explanation. No announcement. You are just gone. Watch what happens. At first, nothing. They assume you're busy. Then curiosity. They reach out more than usual, wondering where you went. Then concern. They start questioning whether they did something wrong, whether you're upset, whether the relationship has changed. All of this is happening because you removed something they had come to expect. This is not manipulation. This is market correction. When you were constantly available, they devalued your presence because it cost them nothing. When you withdrew, you reminded them that your presence is not guaranteed, that it is something that can be lost. Suddenly, the thing they took for granted has weight again. You do not explain the absence when you return. If they ask where you were, the answer is simple. I had things to handle. Not defensive, not apologetic. Just a statement of fact that your life contains dimensions they are not entitled to know about. Some people will become angry. You could have just told me you were busy. No, you could not have, because announcing your unavailability is asking permission to be unavailable. It is giving them the opportunity to decide whether your reason is good enough. Your absence requires no justification. The people who matter will accept this. They will adjust to the reality that you are not a constant, that your time and presence are conditional, not guaranteed. And paradoxically, they will value you more, because humans only value what they fear they might lose. But here is the principle beneath the technique. Your presence must be event, not atmosphere. Atmosphere is always there. You don't notice it. You don't appreciate it. You assume it. Event is specific, concentrated, memorable. When you make your presence atmospheric by being constantly available, you render yourself background noise. When you make your presence event through strategic absence, you render yourself significant. This applies to all relationships. Friends who take you for granted because you always show up. Family who assume you'll always be there. Romantic partners who have become complacent because you have never made them wonder if you might leave. Colleagues who dump work on you because they know you'll accommodate. All of them need to experience your absence to remember your value. Most people are too afraid to do this. They think withdrawal means losing the relationship. They cannot tolerate the discomfort of being misunderstood or missed. They would rather be taken for granted than risk someone being upset with them. This is why most people have shallow relationships, because depth requires the other person to actually choose you, not just tolerate your constant presence. If you want to be chosen, you must be choosable. And you cannot be choosable if you are always chosen by default because you never leave. Disappear, and watch who comes looking. You care too much what people think. You will deny this. Everyone denies this. But I can prove it with one question. When someone criticizes you, how long does it stay in your mind? Minutes, hours, days? If the answer is anything other than not at all, you care. When someone's opinion of you can alter your emotional state, they have power over you. When their approval makes you happy and their disapproval makes you unhappy, they are your master. You are reacting. You are being moved. You are the puppet. This is the final and most difficult installation, true indifference to external judgment. Not fake indifference, not performative, I don't care, while secretly obsessing. Actual structural indifference where someone's opinion of you registers the same way the weather registers. You note it. It changes nothing. Machiavelli wrote that it is better to be feared than loved if you cannot be both. But there is a state beyond both. To be unmoved. To operate from a center so solid that praise does not inflate you and criticism does not deflate you. To have internalized your own value to such a degree that external validation becomes redundant. You are nowhere near this state. You are still performing for an invisible audience, hoping they approve, fearing they don't. Every decision you make is filtered through what will people think. Every action is calculated for perception. You are not living your life. You are managing your image. The correction is simple in concept, brutal in execution. Stop seeking approval. Someone compliments you. You do not light up. You do not smile and thank them enthusiastically. You simply acknowledge it. I appreciate that. Neutral tone, unchanged expression, because their compliment, while nice, does not alter your self-assessment. You already know your value. Their recognition of it is merely observation, not creation. Someone insults you. You do not defend. You do not explain. You do not react at all. You just look at them. Let them see that their words landed on stone, that their attempt to diminish you failed before it began. Because your sense of self is not located in their opinion. It is located in your own competence, your own standard, your own internal measurement. Someone tries to provoke you, wants a reaction, wants to see you flustered, angry, defensive. You give them nothing. Not cold shoulder, not active dismissal, just neutral existence, as if they are wind and you are mountain. This is the hardest law because it requires you to sever the connection between external feedback and internal state. And that connection has been wired into you since childhood. You learned that approval meant safety and disapproval meant danger. You learned to read the room, adjust your behavior, seek validation. That wiring is still running. You must rip it out. The process is exposure therapy. You must deliberately put yourself in situations where people will judge you, disagree with you, dislike you. And you must practice not caring, not pretending not to care. Actually not caring. Say the thing you believe even when you know it will be unpopular. Make the decision you think is right, even when others advise against it. Wear what you want, pursue what interests you, build what calls to you, regardless of whether anyone else understands or approves. At first, this will be excruciating. Your nervous system will scream that you're in danger, that you need to get back into alignment with the group, that you need to be accepted. Ignore it. That is old programming. That is the survival mechanism of someone who needed the tribe to live. You do not need the tribe anymore. You are the tribe. As you continue this practice, something shifts. The fear of judgment diminishes, then disappears, then is replaced by something better. Genuine indifference, not hostility, not bitterness, just profound disinterest in what anyone thinks of you beyond the few people whose judgment you have consciously chosen to value. And once you reach that state, you are untouchable, because the person who cannot be moved by praise or criticism cannot be controlled. The person who does not need approval cannot be manipulated. The person who is indifferent to external judgment is, by definition, free. This is the throne. This is rulership, not over others, over yourself. Most people will never reach this. They will spend their entire lives as puppets, dancing to invisible strings pulled by the opinions of people they don't even respect. They will optimize for perception instead of reality. They will die having never lived as themselves. If you can complete this transformation, you will be alone in a way most people never experience. But it will not be lonely, because you will finally be in the only company that matters, your own. If you have watched this far, you are not the same person who started. You now see the mechanisms, the invisible strings, the ways you have been giving away power every day through behaviors you thought were normal. You see the hierarchy in every interaction, the dominance exchanges, the submission signals. You cannot unsee this. The question now is, what will you do with this knowledge? Most people will do nothing. They will watch this video, feel momentarily uncomfortable, maybe try one or two techniques for a day or two, then slowly drift back to their default patterns. They will return to being available, reactive, approval-seeking, subordinate. Because the discomfort of transformation is greater than the pain of remaining weak. If that is you, this video was entertainment, nothing more. But if you are the other kind of person, the kind who understands that there are only two positions in this world and you are tired of being in the lower one, then you will implement these laws systematically. You will begin defending your attention-like territory. You will learn to wield silence. You will stop being emotional infrastructure. You will work in private and reveal results in public. You will strategically withdraw your presence. You will cultivate genuine indifference to judgment. And as you do this, you will lose people. Friends will drift away. Some family members will become confused or angry. Romantic partners may not survive the shift. This is not failure. This is sorting. You are discovering who was in relationship with the real you versus who was in relationship with your usefulness. Let them go. You are building a kingdom. Kingdoms have walls. Not everyone gets to live inside. The person you are becoming does not need everyone to like them, does not need constant connection, does not need validation. That person is self-sufficient, self-referential, self-contained. That person is sovereign. That person is ruler, not subject. There is more to this, much more. Techniques I have not mentioned, psychological mechanisms I have not explained, strategies that go deeper than these 6 laws. But they are not for general consumption. They are for people who have proven they can implement what they've learned here, who have demonstrated they can handle the isolation that comes with power, who have shown they are willing to be misunderstood in exchange for being uncontrolled. If you want access to that knowledge, you will have to demonstrate you are worth teaching. For now, you have enough. These 6 laws, properly implemented, will transform every relationship you have. They will relocate you in every hierarchy you occupy. They will make you dangerous in the best possible way, but only if you use them. Most will not. Most will watch and do nothing. Most will remain exactly where they are. The question is simple. Are you most people, or are you something else?